Instead you can bury the workman, but the work will go on. You can silence the voices, but you can't stop the song.
Welcome to Wheeling the Pathways of Life Unplugged with your host, Brain Fitzpatrick. Wheeling the Pathways of Life Unplugged is a snapshot of the day-to-day experiences of disabled individuals as they navigate the world around us. We wish to shed light and open your eyes on a new perspective of people with disabilities. And by going unplugged, we can discuss viewpoints we hope will challenge our viewers' points of view. Most of us have disabilities we must live with, but what defines us is the way we deal with them. And now, here's your host, Brain Fitzpatrick.
Good afternoon, folks. This is Brain Fitzpatrick coming to you live from the facilities of Pittsburgh Community Television. And today I'd just like to start with talking about making. There's several ways you can look at life, and a lot of times in the disabled community, people try to help, but they in turn make it harder for the person they're trying to help. They make them worry about stuff they shouldn't worry about, or they're talking about stuff they shouldn't be talking about, or they are bringing in their problems to work with them, or you know, making me pay for stuff that I shouldn't pay for just because they lose stuff at the house or whatever. And I just want to tell you guys that I'm not a bank. I don't have all the money in the world to be spending on stuff that I don't need to be spending on. And with that, I'd like to get into a subject of making life easier for medical appointments as far as I'm concerned. One of the things that I dislike about being in a chair is most people and most doctors require visits and physicals and medical follow-ups and all that. I cannot get out of the chair in the doctor's office, okay? Because I do not have the proper equipment to get out in the office, nor do they have the room or the staff to get out of to get people like me out of their chairs. So what I like to see, and one of many things that I'm going to be working on is trying to get, I hope to work on this in the future, trying to get funding for medical personnel to come to the house instead of making us go to the doctors all the time. Now, many of you may say, am I just trying to get out of going to the doctor? No, it's a physical impossibility sometimes to get the proper care if you go to the hospital because of the circumstances I'm in and the circumstances most people are in. And some of the things you can do with VNA, visiting nurses, but some of the things you just need a doctor to do. One of the solutions to this problem is, and I do this on a regular basis, but they don't like it, is when I go to the emergency room. Some of the things that I go through are easier dealt with in the emergency room, okay, because of the disability. But just about every time I go to the emergency room, the doctors say, this could be handled at the office. Well, looking at me in the chair, now, you tell me how it's going to be handled in the chair. It's not. Okay? You tell me how, hey, you can check for pressure sores in the chair. Because the doctors can't get me out of the chair, you can't check for pressure sores in the office. So you have to go to the emergency room to do that. Now, and yes, I do things that technically should be done in the hospital at home, because I know how difficult it is to get to the hospital. Now, the real situation is, the other real situation is, when you go to the emergency room before 5 o'clock at night, you have a good chance of getting home. But after 5 o'clock, you cannot get home at all. There's many nights where I've had to stay in the emergency room overnight because I can't get home because of transportation. Well, let me clarify so you guys understand. I'm ready to go home. The doctors have basically released me, but there's no way for me to get home, so they have to keep me in the hospital. Now, granted, the city and the state are working on it, but me personally, I think that would be the hospital's problem to get me home. So one of the other options that I am going to be proposing in person and on this show, with the amount of money the Berkshire Health Systems Department is taking over medical costs and the amount of services and the amount of real estate they have. They should come up with their own transportation to get us back and forth. They have all this on the road medical equipment so they can do tests, do x-rays on the road, and the Bloodmobile and stuff. Why can't they spend the money and buy a van or buy a couple vans and give people the appointments? We're already spending money in transportation and time getting PT1s, getting medical justification. The insurance companies are paying for it anyway. Why shouldn't the hospital just do it themselves? Plus, the fact is, and honestly, more communication needs to happen with the patient themselves, not the staff member that they happen to be with. Many times, as I said last week, many times there's situations like if I'm having a conversation with somebody, medical or personal, they talk past me, they don't talk to me, they talk to my staff instead of who's actually asking the question. Now, one of the situations is that's lack of education, but that's also a lack of wanting to take the time and understand people. And let me tell you something. I think in the medical field and in the medical field of in hospitality in general, part of your job is to understand people. Okay? If you're so busy and you're so gung-ho about getting stuff done, you're not looking, you're not actually hearing what the people want to do or what they want to need, what they need or what they want you to do. So if you're in the field just for the money, you're in the field to get the job done. Part of your job is to take the time. I don't care if it takes an hour to do a 20-minute procedure with me. The insurance companies won't like this, but I don't care if it takes an hour to do a 20-minute procedure. But the procedure or the consultation or the appointment in general won't be as effective, or I won't get my needs met if a doctor doesn't have time or want to take the time and understand what's going on. There's many times where I've walked out of my doctor's office, and this has actually happened, and went to drove out of that doctor's office and went to the ER a couple hours later because my needs weren't addressed at the doctor's office. Because of the fact they can't get me in and out of the chair. Or because of the fact that the doctor's so busy they can't, What I'm saying is basically if you're so busy, you can't fulfill your job as to the reason why you're there, there's a problem. And one of the problems is not only are doctor's offices busy, not only is there not enough doctor's offices, but there isn't enough choice of where you can go for a doctor. You're stuck within one agency, which I'm not talking bad about any agency, but we need choices. We need to be heard. And if there's not enough choices, we can't be heard. And if Berkshire Health System doesn't have the staff or the capability of taking care of us the way we need to, then we need to be able to go somewhere else. And urgent care for those people that don't know, it's just like going to the doctor's office. They've got the same problems that my doctor's office does too, because they can't get me out of the chair. So, or exceptions need to be made for the reason why I'm at the emergency room. Because, frankly, it's just easier to go to the emergency room. Everything is there, everything is there, so I can get the services I need and get treated the way I need to get treated. And then you've got the number of times within a year you need to go to the doctor. That may be a problem because you gotta be recertified for every situation in the world every time you go. Every year you gotta go for, insurance claims, insurance procedures, and insurance verification. And then you got situations like you gotta go for wheelchair evaluations. You gotta go for justification because you need PCA services. That's all stuff that shouldn't be necessarily in an emergency room, but, doctor's offices need to be more accessible both physically and schedule-wise. But the main thing I wanted to talk to you about is the transportation. Like I said, because if you want people to go to the doctors, but if they don't have a way to get there, you know. Girls, can you pull out for me for a minute? Because obviously, folks, sitting in this chair, do you think I can drive a vehicle the normal way anybody else can? No. And I can't fit into a regular vehicle like everybody else can. And, okay, Kelly, you can go back in. Just for one example. All right, this is just one example. The state pays for me to go to church every week. We have to get a van out of Springfield for me to go to church every week. And as a result of that, you'll never guess what the state is paying for me to go to church. I'll tell you what the state's paying for me to go to church every week. $400 every week. $200 each way. $200 each way for me to go to church. That is ridiculous. Even with the worst, even with the best, even with the worst gas prices in the world, that is the most astronomical, ridiculous thing they got going. Because they need, I understand people need to make money and people need to, people need to make money, people need to make a living. But how do they expect people in wheelchairs to come up with $400 a week to go to church? It's not possible. When we come back, we will continue this conversation, and I will be right back in just a moment, folks. Thank you.
I have a maker. He formed my heart before even time began. My life was in his hand. He knows my name. He thought. He sees each tear that falls and hears me when I call. I have a Father. He calls me his own. He'll never leave me, no matter where I go. He knows my name. He knows my every thought. He sees each tear that falls and hears me when I call. He knows my name. He knows my every thought. He sees each tear that falls and hears me when I call. You hear me when I call. He hears me when I call.
Good afternoon, folks. This is Brain Fitzpatrick again. Coming to you live from the facilities of Pittsburgh Community Television. As I was saying before, it's like transportation is the biggest problem, and cooperation with other facilities. And what I'd like to say now is the fact that every problem cannot be solved in an hour. I know there's other situations that take priority, but if I don't bring them up every week or every other week, then they get forgotten. And I love the deal to invite anybody from Berkshire Health Systems, including the medical director, the head medical director on the show to discuss some of these problems and some of the supporters of Berkshire Health System to be able to discuss some of these. But some of the things that are ridiculous is like some of the things I outlined in the previous segment. But I also want to bring out the fact that we've got the same issues everywhere we go. We've got lack of we've got the problem of lack of knowledge, lack of empathy. Nobody has any empathy as much as they should. I mean, not everybody it's this way, but most people want to get things done now, and they only want to get things done now when they want to do things the quickest way they can. And I hear that all the time. I hear that, and I understand that. But when you go from hearing people and understanding and then going back to what you're doing and thinking about what you're doing and thinking about, oh, I got this to do, that to do. Are you actually listening to the people you're supposed to be taking care of, or you're supposed to be helping? Is it helpful? No. So if I were you, I would take the extra few minutes and sit down and talk to people. Yeah, it may take longer to get stuff done during the day, but it's more productive and more understanding, and more people will come to you more if you pay attention to what they're saying. And we as disabled people, okay, need to be able to trust you, need to be able to be heard, need to be able to feel like we matter. I know we do, but if people don't feel like we matter, then when situations like that come up, then they're not gonna likely to be asking for help because they feel like they're being a burden or something to the person trying to help. I know this takes a lot of practice and a lot of understanding, but I mean, this is the kind of thing where you need to think about before you get into the field of taking care of somebody. You need to, I won't say you need to, but I would recommend spending as much time as you can thinking about the field before you try to get into it. Because one thing that is very important for me to say, and I must say this to my staff now, is the most important thing is to feel like I'm being heard. I understand there's more important things to do. Sometimes they've got important things to do in life and stuff like that. But when you're working with an individual on a daily basis, and you're working with them as many hours as some people do, they need to feel like they're important too. And as much as as much as the staff want to feel important, the client needs to feel important too. Because without you, without the person taking care of the person, I can't do what I need to do without help. Alright. As many of you may know, I talk about this a lot, but the reason why I got so in depth with it today is because I feel it's important to go back to reality as far as I'm okay, guys. I'm okay, guys. I just had something in my eye for a minute there, but I'm okay. Well, what I started to say was the fact that with everything going on in society, we need to get back to what really matters in life. As far as what really matters in life and what each individual, each person that you deal with on a weekly, daily basis, and each person you come in contact with, those are the people that matter. Okay? Yes, it matters what goes on in government and stuff like that. As many of you may know, I work very strongly with government and very much a proponent of what goes on in government. But I am also a realist too. I understand that it can't all be done by one person. And what I want this show to do, today and otherwise, I need help. I need people to get behind me. We can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. So any suggestions, any bills and stuff, bills, government stuff you want me to talk about, that's fine, I'll talk about it. But I need to know where you guys are at as far as what you need me to talk about. As many of you may know, I'm fine with talking about my situation for an hour, but I'm also I'm well able to accept the fact that I can't talk about myself all the time. I need other people to tell me what's going on in their life so they know so they know they're being heard and I can help them. Because by helping other people, that's helping me. And by helping other people, we are making this country and city a better place to live. And we are becoming more productive. We're quite frankly, we are being less, and it's less likely that we'll be called pain in the butts or pain in the butts or things like that, because we are being heard more, so we don't have to be considered a pain in the butt and or something worse, because we don't have to fight as much to get things done and people will just listen. Now I know this is better, this is easier said than done at times. But I also know that the squeaky wheel gets grease, and be quite frank with you, I'm gonna be the best squeaky wheel going. I may look a little weird, I may sound a little funny once in a while, but I can still get my point across, and I can still be a productive member of society, and like I said, sometimes the squeaky wheel gets grease, and sometimes the squeaky wheel has to squeak multiple times a week, multiple times a year, multiple times an hour to get things done. I really want to say, in the last 16 minutes that I got on the show, this show has done a lot for me over the last years that I've been doing this. And I want to say that this is the best outlet for me to be able to get out what I need to get out. And yes, now what I'm going to say is not meant for everybody. But I personally find communication with people like I'm doing right now is better than any type of clinical therapy or anything that is out there, because I feel like I'm making a difference in other people's lives by sharing my story. Now I know there's many cases where clinical and psychological counseling is important, but sometimes just talking about your frustrations and getting other people's perspectives and letting people hear what your situations are that is the most therapy and the most beneficial to me. I'm not saying there's not a place for therapy in general, but like I've said several times now, the biggest thing is being heard, being understood, and being believed when I say everything's okay. Everything is. It's not easy, but everything will be okay. Now, in a strong, my life has changed over the past year. Over the past several months, actually. As many of you may know, and as many of you may, I share it on this show. I lost my mother, and the reason why I bring that up is my mother was the biggest advocate I had. And she would not want me to sit here and wail for me and stuff like that. So what I brought up to you today was not a case of bringing up problems that I have and arguments that I have had with people, because I feel like there's no transportation. I feel like there's problems at the hospital. Well, these are problems that I've seen and other people have seen, and they need to be taken care of. And in one way or another, I will make sure that they will be taken care of. May not be everything I want, but one problem at a time will be taken care of. And if I have anything to do with it, just about every problem I talked about will be taken care of. But I'm not saying it's going to be a reality, but I'm going to try to hit every situation that we talked about. And that's the kind of person my mother was too. Because every time I needed something and she knew it, she was there to make sure it got done. And I will carry that forward with anybody I work with. I will make sure that at least the problem and the situations will be at least brought out to the forefront, so people won't say, we didn't know, we didn't have any clue. Well, I'm telling you right now, if you paid attention to what I'm saying today, you now have a clue that we got work to do. Yes, they are making progress. and we are making a difference in the city, and the mayor is making progress, and Ricardo is making progress. I have him coming on next month, as a matter of fact, and if anybody has anything they'd like me to talk about with Ricardo, as far as sidewalks, streets that need to be done more efficiently during the wintertime, holes in the middle of the street so, people don't lose their vehicles, I will be glad to talk about that. Just email me at wheelingthepathwaysoflife@gmail.com, and I will compile a situation where I will compile a list and bring up the questions to him, or bring up the subjects so he can work on them prior to the show or after the show, and hopefully come back within a couple months and tell us the progress. One thing I would like to say is I want people to know that to come here and do this show is a lot of work. To spend upwards of 40, sometimes 50 hours a week, because I even think about this when I'm in bed. And I even think about this when I'm alone on the computer, what I'm going to talk about every week. Yeah, I don't make a script, but I come up with subjects that I'm going to talk about, and guests that I could possibly have on the show. But I do it because I love to do it, and I do it because it needs to be done. And the main thing that I want people to get across is, and Kelsey, you may have to pull out real quick again. All right, go ahead and pull out real quick. I am a person inside a wheelchair. The wheelchair is just a shell. I matter just like anybody else. Everybody has disabilities. Everybody has runny eyes. Everybody has, skin difficulties with their skin. Everybody has a disability. It's how you deal with it and what the end result of what you're trying to do with, okay, Kelsey, come back in. With what you have and the way you express yourself and the way you don't express yourself when you feel like you need to. That's gonna eventually determine whether you get everything done you're supposed to get done and want to get done while you're here on Earth. As far as whether you can get everything done you want to get done, that's not determined by me, that's not determined by you, that's determined by God. But when you communicate in the appropriate way, you can get things done. We can disagree. Remember, folks, as I close, we can disagree. We can say we don't agree with something, but there's a difference between disagreeing and being disagreeable. We as society should not be disagreeable. We can disagree, but we should respect everybody, respect everybody's opinion, even though we may not agree. With that, folks, I have basically run out of time. One more time, if anybody has any questions or any concerns they'd like to see discussed on the show in the next few weeks or beyond, please get a hold of me at wheelingthepathwayoflife@gmail.com. And with that, folks, this has been Brian Fitzpatrick coming to you live from the facilities of Pittsburgh Community Television in the home of WTBR 89.7. Thank you.